because everything the Kitty Rose lifestyle does is spiritually, organically done. Spiritually, this is interesting, the topic I want to talk about or share. I don't know if vent is the word. Venting is a word, but I don't want to say venting in a sense of complaining. Because at the end of the day, whether we chose to be business owners or divinely set up that way, this is still the life we're in. So good or bad, it's ours. So I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's a trial by saying venting. It's just an outlet to have. And in that outlet, I wanted to talk about throwing events or throwing meetings. Well, really, I guess events, because meetings is something different. Meetings, so you're going to meet someone, they have a time, you're going to meet them, you discuss the business. But throwing events, I know at one point in my career, maybe year 2, year 3, standing room only. Any event I did, whether it was at a gallery, whether it was at a restaurant, whether it was a shopping party in my house. Guests were never a problem. That might have happened, I'm in year 11, that might have been strong year 2 to 4. Around year 5, I started shifting what I was doing, but I noticed that even though I was still producing and hosting events, my numbers were starting to dwindle as far as like guest attendance. But something within me was like, okay, I'm still going to do stuff. I was involved with Unveil Unlock. We were doing a lot of events. I'm working with now a woman who does a lot of events, who also gets standing room turnouts in her events. So we're like, why not collaborate together? As she's doing the events with me, we both are noticing our numbers are dwindling down. I come to WeWork, oh my God, I'm in love with this space. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a great space that I can invite folks to. I think the amenities are great. I think what I'm able to offer people, excellent, wonderful, great spot. Okay, let's try doing an event. Done some events. The turnout is not quite what I would like it to be. Not that it was nothing, but not like what I'm used to getting or what I would like to get. So my hesitation is, well, do you still keep doing them? And then if you do keep doing them, then how do you change the way that you're marketing? How do you change the response that people are having? How do you make it where you're not becoming, I guess, disappointed with your numbers? You know, how do you still be okay with the 5 when you wanted 25? You know, and then if you get the 5, then being grateful with the 5, and then figure out, well, how can we still, as 5, do something? But then it's like, but you know what? I've invested, I've marketed, I've done this, that, and the third, and 5 is great, but really? Like, what if she made hors d'oeuvres? You know what I mean? We had food this time. You know what I mean? We had food, we had wine, we had beer. So then it comes to, well, people know you're doing an event, so now they're watching to see how the event turns out. So even though they don't show up, now your brand is still on the line, your credibility of, well, does she just bail out of stuff because it didn't get the turnout she wanted, you know? Or does she still do it hoping that, well, things take time to build up? This is a new aspect of your business. So you have to kind of, you know, still treat this as new. I don't know. So that's like, that's like the setup, you know, join in.
It's just in me.
Okay.
That's the truth.
What
It's
year
just,
are you in business?
This is the second year of being in business. I mean, we haven't been really successful yet because it's just been a learning process. You know, we're just trying to build, trying to figure out different ways to really get our business going. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
You know, I've been working for, 10, 12 years, as a professional, and I just knew I wanted something more, and so I never really was like, oh, I'm gonna be an employee for the rest of my life. It just wasn't for me to work for other people. It really isn't. Like, I really can't. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm still doing it. I still work my 9 to 5. I work as a television editor. So I work, that's why probably no one, if y'all are part of Harlem, you don't see me here because I come here at night. So I work straight from, 10 to 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Then I come here at 10 to 2, 10 to 3, and I work.
Have you put yourself like on a time frame of, okay, I'm going to still keep my job for this amount of long, and then year 3 or 5 in the business, then I'm going to completely do it full time?
No, I didn't put no time frame on it. I just know that every dollar that I make goes towards my business. So it's not a time frame as much as it's just I just love running a business. I just love it. Like I don't care if I work my 9 to 5 for the rest of my life and run a business at night. I just love the feeling of having my own. I don't like what I do so much, but I just love, being able to just make choices, make decisions on the spot. Being able to try to plan ahead, to try to put and inspire other people. I think that's one of my biggest things too at this point, because I'm getting a little older. I mean, I'm still young, but I'm getting a little older, and I just see like these young 25-year-olds and 21-year-olds, and we're in the millennials. I guess I'm on the cusp of being a millennial. I think of the oldest millennial you can be, and I just really see like we're just the age of entrepreneurs right now, and I really want to just like inspire them to just keep pushing, to really be, especially people who look like me, because it wasn't like if anyone's around my age, their parents, and or even if you're older, you definitely know your parents ain't tell you you're gonna be an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So I really just want to encourage everybody just to be like, yo, I don't care if it's 10 hours that you work, 12 hours that you work. If you believe in something bigger and that you meant for something bigger, just keep going with it. That's just how I am. Like, just be persistent as much as possible.
Still not answering the question, because you could go for it, you could inspire somebody, but that's not the remedy to the problem, which is when you have things that are impacting and affecting your business, like numbers and dollars and all these other aspects that help keep it going. If you didn't have that 9 to 5, you could not keep doing it at that pace without something having to hit the wall. So at some point, the solution, like I'm going to give you an example.
Well, hold on.
Okay. If, for example, you are in whatever year you're in with your business, and you see, like what Kat said, you have year 1 through 4 success in numbers, but 5 through 8 you're starting to see a slope because you changed something in your business formula. Then what did you change? What could you actually pull from what was going well and adapt it into what the change was to figure out what the problem is? So the problem wasn't just the numbers, it's also finding out, because technology is a growing part of how any business is operating. People are more stretched out and overwhelmed by both the day-to-day operation of being in their business brick and mortar. Like in the case with you have a shop that you got to physically be in a certain amount of living hours. Then you got to have some other figuration on how to get the social media to keep up with all of the other components of staying on the competitive edge. So figuring out the game as is needing to be played, because technology has made it where people don't want to physically interact because they're exhausted. So they're using their internet, social media devices, and all kinds of other things to connect to what's going on. So whereas there may be 5 of us sitting here, there might be 2,000 watching this once you post it, because that's where they want to interact, because they don't have to leave what they're doing or add something else onto their schedule. But if they saw it crowded, and this is the other catch-all, sometimes when you do an event, and this is what I found with big companies, they would have a certain head count by a certain day and time. Let's say this event was happening on a Tuesday. Perhaps on the Friday before, if they didn't reach their overflow number, they would have then had their staff and interns just pull people to invite them to come to fill space. So it looks like it is more dynamic than it was, but it's only maybe 20 people or 10% in that room that was really meant to be your core people that you're targeting. So you might make a place look bigger than it was, on the front end, because when people see a filled room, that's what motivates them to go, oh, I gotta be there.
The look kind of have to like convince kind of people.
That's the mentality of the world that you're living in. So the value in seeing all those people there. means something. You know, oh, it must be a great event. I have to, the next time they have an event, you know, I want to be
The
there.
next time.
Yeah, the next time. Yeah. So, or
But then
an
how do you
event
stay
like that.
motivated then to do the
Okay,
next
so
time?
motivate. My motivation. We're in our going into our 22nd year.
Yes, not
in
going.
Harlem. My initial motivation, or my motivation comes first from being a spiritual person.
Okay.
So I know what space I'm in, and if someone opens up a bakery across the street, I'm going across the street and I'm welcoming you to the nation. And, you know, I'm going to embrace you. So I can't. What I will learn as one of the bakeries that opened up in Harlem, the cab just happened to stop for a light, and I saw this light, really nice looking place. And I asked him to pull over. I hadn't reached my destination. I wanted to get out and see what this place was.
Okay.
It was Betty Canny's Bakery, and I went in and asked to speak to the owner and welcomed her to the neighborhood and just complimented her on how it looked. So what did I do next week? I went back and stood outside and looked at my place and said, you know, what can I do?
Right,
So it's
I've
not
done
about
that, yeah.
being, upset about a business coming into the neighborhood. I can't stop
Right.
somebody else. It's like, how can I up my game? So I'm constantly trying to up my game. You know, I said the spirituality was one of my driving forces. The other is a family-owned and operated business. So I have my children and my grandchildren
Okay.
to say that I've got to make this a success for them. I'm getting involved with technology, which I have my limits, but I hire people. I hire
Okay.
assistants.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
people,
Okay.
You know, who knows about those things. And moving forward with everything that's out there, I would say no to practically anything that we do because I'll try it. And
Okay.
if it doesn't work, then, you know, we'll move on to the next thing.
So I wanted to ask you, I'm at a year 11 with my business. You're 20 plus. I'm sure in these 20 years, you know, people ask you, oh, can you provide, you know, muffins or donuts or cakes or something for an event? And you provide a nice couple of trays full. And then you get to an event and there's 6 of them, 6 people there.
When you're starting out a business,
No. So this doesn't happen after 20 years now? You go to every, okay.
donation is a whole other part of the business. And I now in 20 years have the privilege to pick and choose who I donate to. But in the beginning, you feel like you have to get your product out there and to make sure that when they set that tray of cupcakes and cookies on it, it says Nikki Higgins in front of it. Everybody who's taken a marketing course in 101 knows that when you're planning an event, they tell you to go out and pursue different people who can help you pull this event off. Now, all anybody can say is no. So you're going to ask. So I know that. They're going to come and ask me. So it's up to me whether I decide to, you know, and I have narrowed it down to the type of event that I want to donate to.
Okay.
I don't donate to everybody. I prefer, I've donated to people where they've taken my product and gave it to the VIPs, right? That's not it. My stuff has to go generally for everybody there. So I'm not going to give to that kind of organization who's going to do that. But, so it's staying self-motivated. It's, you know, it's what's inside of you, what motivates you when you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, as I do. And like, how am I going to tackle this day? You know, sometimes I write down things that I want to do, and when I come home at night, the first thing when I'm taking my photo, was I able to accomplish? It's the knowledge, and that's sort of what when I read in the paper, what an Alfred came
Okay.
about this event. That
In what paper? Plug. Harlem News Group. No. We got to give Pat Stevenson some love. No. Who's another business owner.
So in terms of business owners coming together, and is something that I've always felt that it was a need for, that we need to sit and talk. And I see most of you in different areas that I am, but I would love to sit and talk to other food service, whether it's baking
Yeah.
or what do I, how have I dealt with what I open, this and that, and all these different issues. This is the starting point for me,
Okay.
in terms of talking to other businesses and how do we deal with certain problems. So in terms of an event, I've cut back because the prices of getting into writing shows and doing different things, because I'm just off the chart. I have to figure out with the money that I'm spending and putting into the setup, the transportation, the giveaways, the food and everything. If I'm spending $3,000, some shows are $5,000 on that event, am I going to be able to make that?
I'm a photographer. I'm also a videographer. Done other things as well. Keep inspiring moms how to walk.
Okay.
Put them in fashion shows.
So it's been a progression, in a sense. Or do you do all these things at once? And did you start doing all these things at once? Or did you find yourself, okay, I'll start here, and then you grew into other things? Or that was just what your business did from day one?
Well, it started with modeling. So I took a lot of pictures. I went to a lot of casting calls, auditions. I was like, I want to be a model. Even when I was about to graduate high school and I was looking for colleges, I was looking for modeling babies. That didn't exist.
Right.
So I was also very interested in reading and writing since I was a child. So when I did go to college, I said, I'll take writing. It was a video arts and technology, and I just kind of fell into it. I thought I was going to be writing for TV or shows, but it ended up being about taking video and photography, and it was about directing, writing scripts, and but it was more like directing, editing, and filming and working with people more than anything.
Okay.
So about 16, I learned a little bit of graphics.
What year was this?
This was 2008.
Okay.
The end of 2007.
Oh. Have you had already started your business? Okay.
I've had periods of like depression. I have periods where I just
Speak
don't do
on it.
anything. I don't know. I find the motivation to just come back strong. So it's always been a fluctuation. But as I get older, I remember the same feeling that I'm having right now. I felt that before.
Okay. Which is?
Like if ever I feel down or I feel like, oh, this ain't working, it's not gonna work, I should just stop right now, I should quit, I just kind of reminisce on that same feeling. Like, okay, I felt this exact feeling a couple years ago and I gave up. And I would have been like up there by now if I didn't follow those emotions, So whenever I feel a little bit down, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna keep going, So maybe I'll take a little walk, I take a little break. I find, something funny to watch. I change my environment real quick, but I come back to it.
What I do is I write and I illustrate children's books.
Okay.
So I do deal with events in the sense that I am at events, I'm at venues,
Okay.
and I'm presenting to families and children and those types of audiences. And so, there's definitely been times where I've said to myself, this is a lot. This is too much, because I think like a lot of times art is not really respected. People see you create stuff out of nothing, and they go, "Oh, that's all it is." And there is a lot of practice, a lot of hard work, a lot of trial and error. And as an artist, you want to make it look like it's seamless and like it's effortless, but how would you feel going to see like a dance show and you see the dancers look like they're working hard because they haven't gotten it to a point where it is effortless and seamless?
Right.
Then you would talk about them because they're not on their job. So, you know, so I've been doing this for a while, and I would say, you know, when I first began, I had to learn my audience, and I think it took a couple of years to also be comfortable and learn the ins and outs of how do you perform, you know, for children and adults at the same time, because they
Attention spans are different. Right?
yeah, they have different attention spans, and their interests are different. And so, you know, like I spend a certain amount of time trying to figure that out.
Is that a constant though? What is reinvention though? Because different different age groups of parents change. I mean, in 20 years, you've had two sets of different types of parents. You've had the 90s parents, and now you got these, you know, 20-something-year-old parents. So does it change according to the times that we live in?
There are definitely changes in the way that children behave, changes in the way that parents behave. 20 years ago, you know, parents were more like hands-on and like sit down and don't you do that. Nowadays, it's like, oh, it's so cute. Or, you know, like I've had presentations where kids would just fall out and the parent would just stand there looking, and I would have to stop my presentation in order to take care of their child. And so, you know, there's always a learning curve. You're always learning how to do something new. And then also there is technology. So, you know, when I first started out, I had to put slides in a carousel. But now, like, I could do everything on my iPad or my phone or whatever. And so there's always the how can I reinvent myself, you know. And I think, I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is.
Miss Joanne.
Joanne was saying, you know, a new business comes into the area, you're checking them out. You know, because they're coming in, if they're a new business, they're coming in with a fresh energy. And,
That's
and
true.
you want to, and they're attracting a certain crowd. And so you don't just want, like, one person's business, you want everybody's business. And so, like, you have to be aware of what's going on. I guess the next thing that I was going to say is that, you know, my business is really just based on me, you know. Like, I'm the focal point of the business. And it's based on my creativity, and I can definitely have people there supporting me, and helping me and assisting me even with my artwork. But it's totally based off of my vision.
How do you promote your book? Is it in stores or just through you selling one-on-one?
I'm definitely in stores, and you know, I've like become very active on social media, and then also events, and then you also you know, just want to get in contact with a lot of educational professionals, parenting magazines and journals, anything that...
And this is all you, or do you have a team that helps you with this?
Well, it all depends. You know, certain times business is doing really well, and so I have a team. And when business is not doing as well, then it has to be me.
What's a good turnout for a meeting or site?
It depends on the venue. Okay, so like for example, I did an event in Brooklyn at Greenlight Books, and they had like 40 people show up.
They had 40 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they brought books. And that's a good turnout for that spot.
Okay.
I did an event at Lincoln Center, and it was maybe like 75 people, you know, and so
What year was those 2 events in your business?
this year.
Okay.
So yeah.
So out of the 75, though, did you get the same amount of sales?
I didn't get the same. I don't think I got the same amount of sales.
That's a good question because I
But-
think we also get caught up with our numbers. So you didn't get the same amount of sales as you did with the 40. So the 40 actually might have been a better money-wise event, even though the Lincoln Center had more people there.
Right, but it's not always about like what you go home with.
Okay.
Sometimes it's also about exposure. So,
Even after 20 years?
well,
You don't feel like your name and your brand should speak for itself?
it should, but if you don't know about it, you know, like there's I don't know how many kids being born every day.
Okay.
If you're not a parent, or if you don't work as a children's librarian or a teacher, that's not your world. And so, you know, like every day I have an opportunity to
Meet a new audience.
to add more people
Right.
to my list of potential, you know, purchases of my book. And so I have to figure out how to get to them. And then also, you know, like after a certain age, your kids are not reading my books anymore. So
So you got to find
Right.
that next set, right? Of
exactly.
kids.
So I have to, I guess, if it was fishing, I have to constantly put my hook out. Yeah. So it's not like cake. People eat cake from the cradle to the grave.
Well, yeah.
6 months in.
pretty-
Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
made it through the halfway mark
Well,
of your first year.
right, the first year. I take photos of events.
Okay.
So
So
I-
in taking photos of events,
Right.
I'm sure you've gone to events where there wasn't a lot of folks to events that was a whole lot of folks.
Right.
What
And
were
I-
you feeling when you were there with your camera?
Well, actually, the events that I've been to, that I've taken, has been pretty well, you know.
Because you're only 6 months in.
Right.
No.
I found my specialty in photography, which is taking photos of African diaspora dance.
Oh, okay.
Right? And I don't want to take anything else besides that.
Okay.
So it's almost like Alvin and Ailey is kind of like my kind of
Okay.
go-to kind of niche. I found that basically the photography that exists in that space has been very minimal. Or
Okay.
not that great. So I figured
So
I'd
you
be the
found a
one-
niche.
I'd
Okay.
be the one to do that. And I've got most of my work from referrals. So that worked out.
What happens when, because referrals, I think, are the best. I love referrals. That keeps us in business. But what happens 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, when not necessarily the referrals, their resources, or they don't have the same resources anymore because they've tapped out their resources. They've tapped out their referrals. How have you taken the fact that you've gotten referrals so far in your 6 months to kind of maybe be able to hold on to that? Because I think there comes to a point in your business that you lose those referrals, maybe not referrals, but resources, because you've already used them. Or you already asked them for money, or you already asked them for an invitation, or you already asked them to shoot you, or you've already asked them to put you on the guest list so you can cover this event.
It will happen that you will over-exhaust a particular intimate group of people who support your business. But what you then have to learn how to do is teach them how to get other people that's in their network to advocate for you. So if you were buying tickets for my events and I've tapped you out, I'm going to keep my relationship with you. So I'm going to invite you to things where there's no pay, to free things, to extra VIP things I'm going to invite you to, so that you still stay up on what I'm doing. But then I'm going to ask you to tell 10 of your friends, 5 of your friends in your network. And because you're talking about me to those 5 people who might be new, who've never come to my thing, I'm going to keep my conversation with you ongoing, because you're always having other networks within other networks.
Joanne wanted to. Don't lose your thought.
Okay, in terms of the tapped out, I just feel I'm as good as my last cake, or you're as good as your last book, that it's a growing thing. I don't see it as being a diminishing thing, but that it's more of a growing kind of thing. When I sit down with a client, I usually ask, how did you hear about us? And 9 times out of 10, it's word of mouth. You know, I can advertise in all the papers and flyers, pass out flyers, but it's word of mouth. You know, eating is a really personal thing, so I'm going to take your personal referral faster than, you know, seeing a picture in a magazine. But, you know, so when you're doing an event or whatever it is that you're doing, that's always in my mind, that I have to make this good. It might not be 20 people there that I want it to be, you know, the people aren't there, but for those that are there, it's got to be presented as the best that, you know, because it's word of mouth. I don't want them to leave there, you know.
You know that, Joanne.
You know, I have my staff to go around and look at the store, and you are a customer. You have got to see what the customers see. You know, I don't, you know, the tape on the counter, or, you know, just little things. Everything is, you're just as good as whatever the last thing it is that you've done, and you're moving on from there.
Do you come from entrepreneurs? Okay. Not at all.
I'd say one way of not exhausting your audience or your guests will be to show them something not like envy worthy, but show them something that they're not at. You know what I'm saying? Show them something that you're doing. Continue to show them that you're active. And that's how I don't know, I don't really promote myself that much, and people still come to me for services, because I keep my social media active. I do personal projects of my own. Maybe I'll bring on, I'll work with someone who's a beginner maybe, and I'll do them up. You know what I'm saying? And make it look like they've been doing this for 20 years, you know what I mean? And people will come, and all of a sudden my inbox gets full, like, hey, can we? So, I don't know, that's the way I do it.
Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
No, I don't. I'm from a creative family. My mom was a dancer,
Okay.
and she was very creative, and so am I. That's where I come from.
Okay. Were you just following Miss Joanne, or did you actually see the ad? What made you come tonight to this?
I was looking at my emails for an RSVP. I couldn't find anything. I don't know how I even found about the event. I'm not sure how I found it.
Which is funny, because that's I guess that goes back to being creative, always working your social media, always working your marketing, always working your plan, being as best as the last thing you've done. Because even, you know, just now meeting her, like, we've shared this space now, 2 months, but this is our first time meeting. But one of the first things that she said to me was, oh, but I follow you online. And you never know who's watching you. You never know who knows about what you're doing. You never know how the universe is putting things in someone's inbox to come to something. So I guess in that full spectrum of things is why you got to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because you just don't know, you know. But then in keeping going, I guess that becomes your motivation in a sense. I guess I'm answering my own question as I'm asking you guys a question. How do you stay motivated? But I guess that's because I want to tear up, because I guess that's how you.
But it's momentum. I mean, if you think about it, like you said, is you think about the times that you were about to quit and you didn't, and you survived, or what have you, whatever kind of landmark you into that position. It's the same thing when you think about what you put in 10 years. You're so far in that you've got all this history, this memory, all of these other muscles. The other alternative is what got you to being an entrepreneur in the first place. I don't want to work for somebody else. And once you've been doing it for yourself for a certain amount of time, if you get hired by by somebody else just trying to run their business 5 minutes after you get the job.
That always happens.
You really have been your own piece of mental whatever model so long, you don't realize how far in. So sometimes when I find I bump into people who I haven't seen in a certain amount of time, and they're like, wow, you're so busy, I always see somebody doing, and I'm always saying, I'm so far in. I'm too far in to turn back.
You have what, 25, 27 years?
28 years.
Shoot.
In April, May is 28 years professionally. So I've been 5 decades doing this. I'm an artist. A visual artist.
And a teacher.
So art educator and some of these things. What I'm looking at is the fact that so many other parts and components, moving parts, have been built up to me being what I'm being. So the same thing like with doing that signing with the children's books, and the fact that you're timed out with a certain audience, or you want to do an event that's not on location, that's kind of time to put it on your resume. All these things are building blocks to other things too, like you need money. When you want to get grants, when you want to get sponsors, when you want to get investors, they look at your portfolio of experience.
Okay.
Not just that I made a product that I got a number of people looking at. Sometimes I might do an event, a vending event, so to speak, or exhibitor for an event that's $3,000. I might only do that once in a 5-year, 10-year period.
Okay.
But that's so that I can put it on my resume for when I'm asking this
Okay.
woman for money, they can see I was highly visible, doing all
Okay.
these things. So is resume building is also another essential part that sort of puts a foundation on what your worth is to other people. So you show up in these kind of high-end places, so it validates the professional experience and background that you have in whatever business you're doing. So for me, what keeps me going is I done put so many $1,000 in what I'm doing to give this up and this now. And then the other thing that will magically happen, spiritually happen, is that 5 minutes into me with the tissue full of tears, I will walk out my door and somebody I didn't know I was going to bump into is going to tell me a story about that time, when, and how I affected them, impacted them, or their kid or some other generation before and after. And then I'm walking away with this echo in my head, like, how you going to stop me?
Right.
You know, so being far in has its own momentum too, will keep you propelled forward into next. Because you've affected other people, and other people's lives are changed because of you. Because I got my cake story. I got, you know, there's all these other parts to me. Like, she doesn't even know.
I know. I was just thinking that. I just was I got some make my cake stories too.
I actually named the piece of artwork Morning Glory because of the muffins I was getting out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. I named a series of breakfast that I make for myself Morning Glory because of those muffins. Because of the stuff that was put in them. And I always said it's just love in it. That's what I smell when I come in there. That sweet smell is just love when I come in there. You know they care.
And did you know that? No. Right. Right. Right.
I didn't know if anyone said this before, but I think at the beginning of everything we do, there's like a passion for it. There's like a love for it. And you're not going to last 20 years in anything if you don't have that passion or that love for whatever it is that you're doing. Right, and you're not going to make it through the hard times. You're not going to have any ingenuity about what you're doing if you're not, invested because of love or passion or whatever it is. But there's an emotional connection, I feel like, to what I'm doing.
Easy in the process. Yes, I'm passionate. Yes, I'm set up to do this, but I know just this morning or just yesterday, I'm still like, okay, all right, how's this bill going to get paid? Or, I did the ad in the paper. Pat told me I should have did it last week. I think she was right, but then I find in marketing and learning your business, when people know about things too long, then they forget. So now you needed something more current. So it came out today. So today, Joanne got a chance to see it today. She didn't see it last week, even though it was marketing on other platforms, but she saw something today. So even though it might have only brought her, the way that I thought about marketing still worked in regards to, you know, I don't know if it would have benefited last week. So again, I posed this last question to you all. It's like, okay, everything you say sounds good. It sounds good because that's a part of the process. Stay passionate, stay reinventive, be creative, use yourself. Sounds good because those are the things we're supposed to say. I want to hear before we close something that does not sound good so that I can still stay motivated tomorrow to turn my phone on, check my emails, put the next segment of my show together, plan another support group. I don't know. Keep it moving. Keep it going. Anyone has any last final thoughts for me, for our audience?
I can tell you, I've heard a lot of great things. I just wanted to jump in here about at least a half a dozen times. I am so honored to be sitting next to Miss Joanne Baylor. We watched her business for so long. All of us enjoy your business. We've all learned a lot from the whole block. You remember all of us guys together. We were always going in there, Morning Glory, Red Velvet, muffins. So that's what, you know, that's giving me goosebumps. But what hasn't been said?
Thank you.
Reward yourself. Don't forget to reward yourself. Minimum once a year, take a vacation. Go. When I say take a vacation from the business, even if it's mental. November, December is my vacation time where I'm still at home, couldn't afford to go somewhere, so I just locked down and do whatever I could do for me, my family, and take some time with my family, reinvent the business as much as I can during that downtime. Figure out when your business has that downtime, and that's time for you to either take vacation and then regroup and get back out there.
Yeah,
Redo your marketing, whatever. Look at your business, see what didn't work, and maybe remove that or improve it. See what did work and improve more. You know, create more of that. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Do you have a certain part of the time that you take off?
Now I do.
Okay.
But what he just said, it's George, right? George, was someone had to tell me that a while back because I swear to goodness, for the first 6 or 7 years, I don't think I took a day off. I worked 7 days a week. Sometimes my daughter and I would go in that bakery on Friday night and not leave till Sunday morning. You know, it would be like a nonstop kind of thing. But the point that he hit on, reward yourself, even if it's you know, like I can be a reward center because I see people come and hear people say, oh, I had a good week. I didn't eat any sweets. I'm rewarding myself with a cupcake or a cookie. So, you know, waiting a whole year is I think it's too long. It should be there because that's the planned vacation. But at the end of every week, you know, I mean, sometimes if you need it every day, you know, whether it's a half a glass of wine, you know, whatever, but you have got to see it as your reward, your motivation, what, you know, whether it's a hug from one of your children, you know, like, it's just, yeah, I think that's important. I think we need to reward ourselves for the work that we do because you get so caught up in the work that you forget about, you know, it's about me and my health and all of that other stuff, you know, at the end of the day. So, yeah, my reward is being with my grandkids.
I like to consider also rewarding your clients.
Okay.
The clients that support you. Clients that's been there for a while.
That's that 6-month newbie.
Yeah. It sure is, but you know, sometimes you gotta keep the relationship.
Tell us if you feel like that after 15.
Now, that sounds good, but
No, he is right.
But those clients are gonna make sure they get their reward from you too. Just don't forget yourself. That's the wrong thing. Of course. Yeah, you would.
That's another topic.
Mental space in your head where you're saying this is a reward, whether it's one of my appointments got canceled, and instead of rushing off to the next thing, I might have just sat still for an hour, wherever I was. And the other reward was I had done this thing, and I kind of challenge all of you to do this. I dated myself for 8 weeks. So this was every week I found some place in another borough I've never been to go to, and I found something happening that was free or that was minimal, and I had to figure out how to get there. I had to call it a date, and I could go by myself, and I had to put on something that I liked, and it could be casual or dressed up. It had to be a color I was feeling good about, but it was a date in my head, and wherever I went, I had to talk to someone that I met along the way and let them know I'm on a date with myself. And I did this for 8 weeks, and I journaled it. Sometimes I posted it on Facebook, but having to do that, what started rejuvenating is, if I knew I was taking myself on a date Friday to the Staten Island Ferry to go to some event that I had never been to, some area I had never been, and I had to figure out how to get there, I could feel in my stomach something happening. And I was excited about the prospects of 4 days from now I'm going to be on that date doing something. And it's a healthy way to look at it, because a date could be a date to the bathtub in your house with some candles and a glass of wine. A date doesn't have to cost you anything.
Right.
It had to be something you haven't done ever for yourself, with yourself. So I challenge all of you to date yourself at least once a month for the rest of this year.
And I thank you for being in business. How about that? You know what I'm saying? I thank you for being in business, because it's not built for everybody. That's why everybody can't do it. You know, and that's no shade or disrespect. You know what I'm saying? Because every other part of this world, we need that too. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Not when we choose. So congratulations to all of you. 20-something years, 6 months, 2 years, but still the job. You know what I'm saying? You know, 8 years, congratulations to all, and I thank you all for participating. And I welcome you to return next month to the Kitty Rose Lifestyle Business Support Group. I don't know where my camera's at. To the Kitty Rose Lifestyle Business Support, because the revolution has begun. That is the tagline. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. All right, wait, go yet. Wait, don't move yet, because I got to give you the release, and I just got a little survey for you guys. Okay.